Listen carefully. Life is suffering. That's the brutal, undeniable truth. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to suffer, then you haven't understood the structure of reality. Pain is built into the foundation of this world. It's inescapable. But here's what separates the favored from the forgotten. Faith transforms suffering into meaning. A man favored by God doesn't crumble when the storm hits. He stands firm, unshaken, because he knows, deep within his soul, that God has already paved the way for victory. He doesn't see obstacles. He sees opportunities. When others doubt, he believes. And belief is not passive. It's a weapon. It's a strategy. It's a declaration to the universe. I will not be broken. I will not give up. I will not surrender to chaos. Look at David. Everyone saw Goliath as an impossible force. David saw a target. He didn't just walk into battle with blind faith. He walked in prepared. He trained. He refined his skills. He trusted God, but he also trusted the work he had put in. That's what faith does. It arms you with confidence, discipline, and an unshakable purpose. Do you have that kind of faith? Do you believe you were made for something greater? Because let me tell you right now, if you do, God's favor will make sure no man, no system, and no circumstance can stand in your way. This is not just another motivational talk. This is a wake-up call. If you're hearing this, it's because you were meant to hear it. God's favor is not random. It's intentional. It's strategic. It's powerful. Before we go deeper, I need you to do something. If you feel this energy, if you know deep down that this message is speaking directly to your spirit, drop 777 in the comments. Let me see how many of us are stepping into our divine calling today. You are standing at a crossroads. One path is familiar, safe, predictable, and easy. The other is unknown, demanding, filled with resistance, yet brimming with power. Which one do you choose? Because whether you realize it or not, you are already making that choice. Every single day, maybe you feel stuck. Maybe your job is suffocating you. Maybe your relationships are breaking apart. Or maybe the weight of self-doubt is pressing on your chest so hard that every attempt to move forward feels impossible. But here's the truth. The storm isn't the problem. The storm is the test. And when that test comes, when the waves crash and the winds roar, there are only two types of people in this world. Those who break under the pressure, and those who rise because of it. So let me ask you, when that moment comes, do you cower? Do you collapse? Or do you stand firm, unshaken, knowing deep in your soul that you were created for more? That is the defining question, and answering it requires more than just belief. It requires responsibility, because real faith isn't passive. It isn't sitting back, hoping things get better. It's engagement. It's action. It's stepping into the fire and refusing to be consumed. This is what separates the ordinary from the chosen. Doors open where others see walls. Have you ever witnessed this? Have you ever seen opportunities fall into place in ways you couldn't explain? A job appearing when you needed it most. A relationship forming at the perfect moment. A path unfolding just as you were ready to walk it. That is not luck. That is favor. A man favored by God does not chase opportunity. Opportunity chases him. Why? Because when God's hand is upon you, no man, no system, no circumstance can keep you from your destiny. But here's what most people get wrong. They think, if I just sit here and wait, the blessings will come. That is a lie. Favor doesn't come to those who do nothing. It comes to those who prepare. It comes to those who strive, who sacrifice, who commit to the highest possible good. If you align yourself with truth, the entire structure of reality will bend in response. And I don't say that lightly. This is not superstition. This is not wishful thinking. This is observable. You've seen it. When someone decides to take life seriously, really seriously, suddenly, things begin to shift. People take notice. Opportunities emerge. The right conversations happen. The right doors unlock. That is divine favor in action. But here's the harsh reality. This doesn't happen for everyone. And I know that's difficult to hear because we like to believe that everyone has the same chances in life. But they don't. Some people are favored. And the reason they're favored is because they made a choice. They aligned themselves with truth. They took responsibility. They aimed higher than themselves. So let me ask you, are you truly ready? Are you prepared for the opportunities that are waiting for you? Because they are waiting, but they won't wait forever. If you aren't ready, if you aren't disciplined, if you aren't committed, then those doors will remain closed. And not because the world is unfair, but because you refuse to take the necessary steps. This is not just philosophy. This is biblical. Look at the parable of the talents. A master gives his servants different amounts of money. One gets 5 talents, another 2, another 1. The first 2 invest. They take what they were given, multiply it, and return more than they received. The third, he buries his in the ground out of fear. And when the master returns, he rewards the first 2 and strips everything from the third. People say, that's unfair. But they're missing the point. If you don't use what you've been given, you will lose even that. And this truth is not just spiritual, it's practical. If you don't cultivate your skills, you will not be promoted. If you don't invest in your relationships, they will wither. If you don't act with courage, you will become weak. And weakness invites suffering. That is the harsh truth. But here's the beauty of it. The opposite is also true. If you commit to becoming the best version of yourself, the doors you never even knew existed will open. Not because of privilege, not because of birthright, but because of willingness. The willingness to step into the unknown, to embrace discomfort, to face the fear that holds most people back. That is the price of divine favor. And if you are willing to pay it, the rewards are beyond anything you can imagine. But that decision, it's on you. So I leave you with this. What will you do? Because right now, you are standing at that crossroads. The easy path is right there, safe, predictable, leading nowhere. But the other? The path of discipline, of faith, of divine favor? That is the path of transformation. And if you are ready to walk it, then say it out loud. Declare it. Because favor follows those who are bold enough to claim it. How do you know if your life matters? How do you know if your existence is making an impact? That's the question, isn't it? Because deep down, every single one of us is searching for meaning. We want to know that our struggles aren't in vain, that the battles we fight every day are leading somewhere. But let me tell you something. Faith is not about sitting back, hoping for a miracle. Faith is about preparing for what you know is coming. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Look at the great figures of the Bible. Did Noah wait for the rain before he started building the ark? Did David stand before Goliath, hoping something would magically intervene? Did Joseph sit in a prison cell, waiting for his breakthrough to just happen? No, they prepared. They trained. They acted. Noah didn't wait for the first raindrop. He obeyed. He gathered. He built. And when the floodwaters came, he was ready. What are you building? What are you preparing for? Too many people say, when my opportunity comes, I'll be ready. Wrong. The opportunity is already here. It's just waiting to see if you've done the work. God's favor doesn't fall on those who sit and hope. It falls on those who prepare with unshakable faith. The kind of faith that moves before the proof. The kind of faith that sharpens skills, cultivates discipline, and steps forward with the absolute certainty that God has already paved the way. When David faced Goliath, he didn't go in blind, relying on luck. He stepped forward with confidence, not because he was the strongest, but because he had prepared. That sling in his hand, he had trained with it for years. That wasn't his first time facing an enemy. It was just the first time anyone was watching. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think faith is about standing still. It's not. Faith is about movement. The doors that open in your life, they don't open by chance. They open because you were ready to walk through them. You ever seen people whose lives just seem to fall into place? The right job, the right connections, the right moments. And people call it luck. It's not luck. It's preparation meeting divine favor. A man favored by God doesn't chase opportunities. Opportunities chase him. Why? Because when God's hand is on you, nothing can stop you but your own lack of preparation. That's why this moment is so critical. Are you preparing? Are you training? Are you stepping into your calling with the confidence of someone who knows victory is already written? Or are you waiting, hoping, expecting something to happen before you take action? Jesus himself taught this principle in the parable of the talents. A master gives 3 servants different amounts of money. The first 2 invest, multiply, and bring back more. But the third, he buries it. He does nothing. And what happens? The master takes away even what little he had. That's not just a story, that's a divine law. If you don't use what you have now, you will lose even that. This applies to every area of your life. If you don't develop your skills, you won't grow. If you don't invest in your relationships, they will wither. If you don't take responsibility for your calling, You will lose the very opportunities you are waiting for. And make no mistake, there is a cost for inaction. You want to be favored? Then stop waiting for a sign and start becoming the person who can carry the blessing when it arrives. Responsibility is the weight that builds strength. And strength is what determines whether you can handle the doors God is about to open for you. Because let me tell you something, blessing without preparation is a curse. If God gave you the breakthrough you're praying for right now, could you sustain it? Could you hold on to it? That's why preparation is the key. That's why faith isn't passive. It's active. It's relentless. It's intentional. And when you understand this, when you stop waiting and start moving, that's when everything changes. Are you going to sit back and wait, hoping for things to magically fall into place? Or are you going to step into your destiny, train like David, build like Noah, and walk forward with the confidence that God has already prepared the way? Because I promise you this, favor follows action. And the ones who are willing to move before they see the proof, they are the ones who will rise. If people look up to you, if they seek your counsel, if your presence brings them strength, understand this. It is not by accident. It is a calling, and a calling comes with weight. Responsibility is not a title. It is not an achievement. It is a burden, a weight placed upon your shoulders, not to break you, but to shape you. And make no mistake, it will test you. Because the moment you are favored, the moment you are called to something greater, you will be placed in situations where your values are challenged. You will be given choices that will reveal exactly who you are. Will you take the easy road? Will you compromise? Will you lower your standards when no one is watching? Or will you stand firm? Because, listen, true favor comes with fire. It refines. It burns away weakness. It strips you down to your foundation to see if what remains is pure, unshakable, unmovable. That's why not everyone is chosen. That's why not everyone rises. Because the cost of favor is discipline. The price of greatness is sacrifice. And if you are not willing to carry the weight, you will never be able to hold the blessing. The world is full of men who have power but no integrity. Men who can inspire but have no wisdom. Men who attract attention but lack depth. That is not the kind of influence you want. That is not the kind of favor you should seek. Because power without character is a curse. Favor without wisdom is dangerous. Influence without integrity, it destroys. If you are truly favored by God, you are not called to the easy path. You are called higher. You are called to something greater. And that kind of calling requires more than just ambition. It requires discipline, patience, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Life is suffering. It is filled with setbacks, betrayals, and chaos. This is the nature of the world. Yet people constantly ask, why me? Why is everything against me? That is the wrong question. The real question is, how will I respond? Because struggle is guaranteed. But transformation? That's a choice. The world does not reward the lazy. It does not reward the complacent. It does not reward those who wait, complain, or shrink in the face of adversity. The world rewards the disciplined, the ones who refuse to be crushed, the ones who use pain as fuel, the ones who step into the fire and come out refined. A man of favor does not crumble when life hits hard. He transforms. He adapts. He learns. He does not look at adversity and say, "This is unfair." No, he looks at adversity and says, "This is a test." Because hardship is not a punishment. It is the proving ground of the chosen. And if you can understand that, if you can grasp the truth that your struggles are not meant to destroy you, but to build you, then you will find power in your suffering. That's the difference between the ordinary and the favored. The ordinary man runs from hardship. The favored man rises because of it. Close your eyes for a moment and step into this story. A young man stands alone, stripped of everything. His own blood, his brothers, the ones meant to protect him, have turned against him. They throw him into a pit, sell him like property, and walk away as if his life meant nothing. Joseph was betrayed, not by strangers, not by enemies, by his own family. Can you feel that? The weight of that kind of pain, the kind that cuts deeper than any sword, because it comes from those you loved, those you trusted. Now, most men, they break right there. They let the betrayal define them. They sink into bitterness, into resentment, into hopelessness. They say, "This is unfair. My life is ruined." But Joseph? He did not break. Instead of drowning in self-pity, he worked. He built himself up. He carried himself with excellence. And just when it seemed like he was finally finding his footing, bam, another blow. Falsely accused, imprisoned, left to rot. How many of you have been there? You did everything right. You stayed faithful. You worked hard. You walked with integrity. And yet, you were still punished. Doors still closed in your face. People still turned against you. That's the breaking point for most. That's where they throw in the towel. That's where they let the bitterness take over. But Joseph? He refused to let the fire consume him. Because he understood something most people never do. Adversity is not the enemy. Adversity is the sculptor. The trials, the betrayals, the moments where everything is stacked against you, they are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. Joseph knew this. So he endured. He adapted. He transformed. And in the end, he didn't just survive. He ruled. Did you hear me? He ruled. He rose to power. He became second only to Pharaoh, overseeing an entire kingdom. And that's the key. You don't climb to the top without scars. You don't step into divine favor without first walking through divine fire. This is where you need to make a choice. Right now. Because two men can go through the same storm, the same loss, the same betrayal. And one will crumble. One will let the weight bury him. He will say, "This is unfair. This shouldn't be happening to me." But the other? He will rise. He will say, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." And that's the difference between a man of favor and an ordinary man. The favored man. He is always the warrior. He doesn't waste time asking why life is unfair. He doesn't shake his fists at the heavens. He gets to work. He keeps moving. He understands that every setback, every betrayal, every hardship is part of the divine plan to forge him into something greater than he ever imagined. You want to know if you're favored? You want to know if you're chosen? Look at your battles. Because if you're not facing resistance, if you're not being tested, if you're not standing in the fire, then you're not on the path to anything meaningful. Because every great man, every man of impact, has scars. He has wounds. He has been broken and rebuilt 100 times over. And that is the mark of favor. So here's the real question. What will you do? Will you crumble? Will you let life bury you? Will you let your circumstances define you? Or will you rise? Because right now, the fire is burning. And you have a choice. Step into it. Let it refine you. Let it make you into the man you were meant to be. Because the ones who endure, they are the ones who rule. Most men crumble under pressure. They fold when life gets hard, when betrayal cuts deep, when dreams shatter at their feet. They look at the storm, and they see destruction. But the favored man, he sees something else. He sees preparation, refinement, a test that was designed not to break him, but to prove him. So if you're standing in the middle of chaos right now, if life feels like it's conspiring against you, if you're surrounded by trials that feel impossible to overcome, do not despair. Because God does not waste pain. Every setback, every tear, every sleepless night, it is all being used. Not to destroy you, to elevate you. This is the defining moment. Right here, right now. Because there are only two kinds of people in this world. There are those who see adversity as a death sentence, who cry, "Why me?" who let hardship define them. And then there are those who stand up, who take the hit, who refuse to be broken, who say, "What is this preparing me for?" Because you will either let your pain defeat you, or you will use it to rise. And if you are favored by God, let me tell you something. Nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in your way. Most people get this wrong. They think peace means a life without problems. But let's be real. Life is brutal. Life is suffering. You will face losses. You will be betrayed. You will walk through fire. So where is the peace in that? Listen carefully. Real peace is not found in comfort. It is found in conviction. It is the kind of peace that rises not when things are easy, but when things are impossible. The kind of peace that says, "I will not be shaken." Picture this. You are in the middle of a battlefield. The ground is shaking. People are screaming. Chaos is everywhere. But you stand firm, unmoved, unshaken, because you know who you are, because you know whose you are, because deep inside, beyond logic, beyond reason, you are certain of one thing. No matter how fierce the battle, you are covered. Do you remember what happened when Jesus was in the boat? The storm raged. The disciples panicked. The waves crashed. And where was Jesus? Asleep. Think about that for a second. The world was falling apart, and he was at peace. Why? Because he knew how the story ended. And when he finally stood, he didn't panic. He didn't scramble to save the ship. He spoke, "Peace, be still," and the storm listened. Too many people live their lives running from responsibility, running from hardship, running from fear. But the favored man, he does something different. He stops running. He stands still. And when he does, something incredible happens. The storm stops controlling him. Because a favored man doesn't crumble under pressure. He doesn't break when things go wrong. He finds his center. And from that center, he rules. So now it's your turn. Are you going to be like the ordinary man? The one who lets the storm decide his fate? The one who lives in fear, waiting for life to get easier? Or are you going to step into the fire, knowing that you were built for this moment? Because if you are chosen, if you are favored, if the hand of God is upon you, then no storm, no betrayal, no hardship will ever take you down. And if you truly believe that, then say it out loud. Declare it. Because storms do not shake the ones who know they are destined to rule. Now, think about the most powerful men in history, the ones who changed the world. Were their lives easy? Were they comfortable? No, they were constantly in the middle of storms. But what set them apart was their response. They weren't controlled by the chaos. They were calm, composed, collected. They had a vision, and nothing could shake them. I want you to consider something. How do you react when things go wrong? Do you panic? Do you start blaming others? Do you drown in anxiety? Or do you stand firm, knowing, truly knowing, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be? Because that, right there, that is the mark of a favored man. Peace isn't something you wait for. It's something you cultivate. It's a decision. Every day, you have a choice. You can choose to be consumed by the noise, by the distractions, by the storms of life. Or you can choose to be still, to be steady, to operate from a place of absolute confidence in who you are. And let me tell you, when you do that, people will notice. They will feel it. They will see a man who is unshakable, a man who doesn't fold under pressure. And do you know what that does? It inspires them. It gives them hope. Because deep down, everyone wants that kind of peace. Everyone wants to know that no matter what happens, they'll be okay. And when they see it in you, they'll want to know where it comes from. And that, my friends, is your opportunity. Your opportunity to lead, to guide, to point them towards something greater than themselves. So I'm telling you, if you want to know whether you are favored by God, ask yourself this. Do I have peace in the middle of the storm? Not after it. Not when things are good, but right in the middle of the chaos. Because if you do, if you can stand firm when everything around you is falling apart, then you're not just strong. You're blessed. You're favored. And nothing can take that away from you. There is one undeniable truth. A man favored by God is not a man of arrogance. He does not boast about his blessings. He does not exalt himself. He does not grow complacent. He does not sit back and wait for fortune to fall into his lap. Instead, he works. He trains. He embraces responsibility. Because he understands that favor is not given to the proud. It is entrusted to those who are ready to carry a greater mission. Have you ever wondered why some men rise while others remain stuck? Why some seem to have doors opening before them, while others stay trapped in cycles of failure? The answer is discipline. You can have talent. You can have opportunity. But if you lack humility and discipline, you will destroy yourself before you ever reach the heights you were meant for. Look at the great men of the Bible: David, Joseph, Moses. They were not chosen because they were born great. They became great because they were forged through trials, honed by discipline, and elevated through humility. David did not step onto the throne overnight. He endured years of persecution, betrayal, and hardship. Joseph did not immediately rule Egypt. He was sold into slavery, imprisoned, falsely accused. But they never complained. They never boasted. They held fast to their faith. They embraced discipline. They remained steadfast in their preparation. And in due time, God lifted them up in glory. Now ask yourself this. Can you endure the process of being forged? Can you accept the intensity of discipline? Or will you seek the easy road? Because here's the truth. God cannot trust an undisciplined man. He cannot place great blessings in your hands if he knows you do not have the foundation to sustain them. If you cannot control yourself, if you cannot say no to laziness, to temptation, to arrogance, you will sabotage your own destiny before you even get close to it. A man favored by God understands one thing. Success is not about opportunity, it's about preparation. You don't wait for the right time to change, You start now. You don't wait until you feel motivated. You create motivation through action, because you know that the discipline you build today determines the position you will hold tomorrow. And here is the promise. If you walk in discipline, if you humble yourself and train yourself, God will open doors no man can shut. You will no longer have to chase opportunities. Opportunities will chase you. But if you reject discipline, if you let arrogance govern your heart, if you let complacency take root, you will watch others rise while you remain stagnant. You will see disciplined men be elevated while you fade into obscurity. Because God cannot trust a man who is not faithful with what he's been given. Whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much. Luke 16 verse 10. If you cannot manage your time, if you cannot keep your word, if you cannot master your desires, how can God trust you with more? This is the moment of decision. Do you want to live an ordinary life, filled with frustration, constantly blaming your circumstances? Or do you want to step into your true calling, to be used by God for something greater? If you want to be a man of favor, you must be willing to pay the price. You must be willing to forsake laziness. You must be willing to abandon half-hearted living. You must be willing to embrace responsibility, submit to discipline, and walk in humility. And when you do that, watch the miracles unfold. Watch how your life begins to shift. Watch how doors that were once locked swing open before you. Watch how the same people who doubted you now have no choice but to respect you. Watch how God places you in positions you never imagined yourself reaching. Because he has promised, whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Luke 14 verse 11. If you choose humility, if you choose discipline, God will raise you up in a way the world never saw coming. Do not forfeit your blessings simply because you refuse to take responsibility. Do not let laziness rob you of what was meant to be yours. Do not let arrogance blind you to the potential God placed inside of you. Rise up, commit, step into your training. Because when you do, when you truly allow yourself to be forged by God, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in the way of the glory he is about to release upon you. Because here's the truth. When you walk in humility and discipline, you don't just succeed. You become a man the world cannot ignore. You become a man God can trust. And when God trusts you, there is no force in existence that can stop your rise. There is a dangerous lie that many men believe. The belief that strength means walking alone. That being independent means you don't need anyone. That relying on others is weakness. But let me tell you something. The man who isolates himself is not strong. He is vulnerable. He is easy to break, easy to manipulate, easy to destroy. Because no man, no matter how powerful, can stand against the storms of life alone. This is not just an opinion. It is a spiritual law. The Bible makes it clear, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 to 10. Do you hear that? Pity the man who has no one. Because when the weight of life crashes down, when betrayal strikes, when the enemy surrounds him, who will stand by his side? Who will lift him up when he is too weary to stand? Let's be real. Life is war. You will face battles. You will encounter enemies. There will be moments when you are bleeding, when you are exhausted, when your faith is tested to its breaking point. And if you have no brothers standing with you, you will fall. Look at the greatest leaders in Scripture. None of them walked alone. Moses had Aaron and Hur, who lifted his arms in battle when he was too weak to continue. Exodus 17 verse 12. David had Jonathan, whose loyalty and encouragement helped him survive when Saul sought to kill him. 1 Samuel 18 verses 3 to 4. Jesus himself, God in the flesh, walked with 12 men. He did not isolate himself. He built a brotherhood. And yet, too many men today reject this truth. They think they can do it on their own. They hide their struggles. They refuse to ask for help. They live in isolation, and then they wonder why they feel lost, why they struggle with temptation, why their burdens seem unbearable. Let me tell you why. Because isolation is a tool of the enemy. The devil knows that a lone man is a weak man. He knows that if he can separate you from godly relationships, from wise counsel, from accountability, then he can deceive you. He can make you believe lies about yourself. He can fill your mind with doubt, with fear, with sin. That's why Proverbs 18 verse 1 warns us, Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. When you cut yourself off from godly relationships, you are rejecting wisdom. You are sabotaging yourself. But here's the good news. You don't have to fight alone. God has not called you to be isolated. He has not called you to be a lone wolf. He has called you to build, to strengthen, to lead. A man favored by God does not surround himself with just anyone. He chooses wisely. He understands that not all relationships are equal, that some people will build him up while others will tear him down. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33. If you walk with fools, you will become a fool. If you surround yourself with weak men, you will become weak. But if you walk with strong, disciplined, faithful men, men who challenge you, men who hold you accountable, men who push you toward righteousness, then you will grow into the man God created you to be. Look at Jesus. He did not waste time with people who did not align with his mission. He surrounded himself with men who were willing to be shaped, willing to be disciplined, willing to follow. And those men changed the world. So ask yourself, who is in your circle? Do the men around you make you stronger or weaker? Do they challenge you to live with integrity, or do they encourage compromise? Do they push you toward God's purpose, or do they distract you from it? If your relationships are not sharpening you, then they are dulling you. And a dull blade is useless in battle. When you build strong relationships, not just surface friendships, but real brotherhood, you create a shield against the attacks of life. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Proverbs 27 verse 17. Real men challenge each other. They don't let each other slip into laziness. They don't allow compromise. They don't turn a blind eye to sin. They call each other higher. They sharpen one another. But listen, real brotherhood is not comfortable. It requires honesty. It requires vulnerability. It requires humility. You must be willing to be corrected. You must be willing to hear the hard truth. Because a real brother will not flatter you. He will refine you. This is why the enemy wants you isolated. Because when you have brothers who stand beside you, you become unstoppable. When you have men who pray for you, who fight for you, who remind you who you are when you forget, you become a threat to the kingdom of darkness. The man who builds strong relationships is a man God can trust. God will not elevate a man who cannot work with others. God will not entrust leadership to a man who refuses to invest in relationships. Because greatness is never achieved alone. Even Jesus, when he sent his disciples out, did not send them alone. Then Jesus sent them out 2 by 2. Mark 6 verse 7. Why? Because the mission was too great for one man to handle alone. The same is true for you. If you want to be a man favored by God, you must build the right relationships. You must seek godly counsel. You must walk with men who will hold you accountable. You must surround yourself with warriors who will fight beside you. Because when you do, when you stand in unity, in strength, in righteousness, no weapon formed against you will prosper. No battle will be too great. No enemy will stand. So now the question is yours. Will you continue walking alone, making yourself an easy target? Or will you build the kind of relationships that will protect you, strengthen you, and sharpen you? Because here is the truth. The man who walks alone will fall alone. But the man who walks with brothers will rise to levels he never imagined. So choose wisely. Surround yourself with men of faith, men of discipline, men of courage. And watch how God moves in your life in ways you never thought possible. Listen to me. If you are a man favored by God, you will face resistance. You will be tested. You will be attacked. You will have moments where everything inside you screams to quit, to walk away, to give in. And in that moment, you will have a choice. Will you crumble under the pressure, or will you rise? This is not a game. This is not just another motivational speech. This is a warning. This is a prophecy. If you are truly called, if God has placed favor on your life, the opposition against you will not be small. You will not have an easy road. You will not coast through life without conflict. Because God does not elevate weak men. He forges warriors. And warriors are not made in comfort. They are forged in battle. Look at history. Look at Scripture. Every man that God used faced resistance. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned. But did he quit? No, he endured. And in due time, he ruled. David was anointed to be king, but he spent years running for his life, hunted like an animal. But did he bow to fear? No, he endured. And in due time, he sat on the throne. Jesus himself, the Son of God, was mocked, rejected, beaten, crucified. But did he abandon his mission? No, he endured. And in due time, he overcame death itself. Are you seeing the pattern? Favor does not exempt you from hardship. Favor guarantees it. Because the enemy does not attack the weak. He attacks those who are destined for greatness. And that's why some of you are in the fight of your life right now. That's why you feel like everything is coming against you. That's why you've been dealing with setback after setback, betrayal after betrayal, disappointment after disappointment. Because you are being tested. You are being refined. You are being shaped. And listen, what you do in this moment will determine everything. Because here's the reality. Most men quit right before their breakthrough. Most men give up right before God moves. They pray for favor. They ask for blessing. But the moment opposition comes, they shrink back. They doubt. They start questioning whether they were ever called in the first place. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants you to believe that the resistance means God has abandoned you. He wants you to think that the struggle means you should stop. He wants you to forget that this is the process. This is the refining fire. This is where warriors are made. But you are not like most men. You are not a quitter. You are not a man who backs down. You are a man of favor. And that means you endure. You don't run from the fire. You walk through it. You don't bow to fear. You stand firm in faith. You don't break under pressure. You rise above it. Because you understand what most men do not. Opposition is proof that you are on the right path. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1 verses 2-3. Do you hear that? Joy in trials. Because trials are not designed to break you. They are designed to strengthen you. They are proof that God is preparing you for something greater. So let me ask you, what will you do with this moment? Will you fold under pressure? Will you allow fear to dictate your future? Will you let doubt convince you that you're not capable? Or will you rise? Will you plant your feet, square your shoulders, and declare, I will not quit. I will not back down. I will not surrender. I was made for more. Because if you make that decision, if you refuse to bow, if you refuse to break, then hear me clearly. Nothing can stop you. Not people, not circumstances, not even the devil himself. Because when a man decides that he will endure, that he will persist, that he will hold the line no matter what, he becomes unstoppable. And that is the kind of man God can trust. That is the kind of man God elevates. Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. James 1 verse 12. That crown is waiting. The victory is already written, but only for those who refuse to quit. So hear me now. This is your moment of decision. You can either walk away, return to your comfort, stay the same, live an average life. Or you can step into your calling, embrace the struggle, and watch how God takes you places you never imagined. But know this. If you choose to endure, if you choose to stay in the fight, the reward will be greater than anything you've ever dreamed. Because God does not waste pain. He does not waste trials. He does not allow suffering without purpose. And if you stay the course, if you refuse to break, He will lift you up in a way that no man can take credit for. So what will it be? Will you quit, or will you endure? Will you shrink back, or will you rise? The choice is yours. But make no mistake, the moment you decide to stand firm, all of heaven moves in your favor. So stand up, dig deep, push forward. Because if God has favored you, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you. Let me tell you something. A man truly favored by God does not just succeed in his lifetime. He builds something that lasts. His influence is not temporary. His impact is not short-lived. When God's hand is on a man, his name, his work, his legacy echo through generations. Think about this. What will people say about you when you're gone? Will they remember you as just another man who lived and died? Or will they speak your name with honor, knowing that your life meant something? Because here's the truth. When God blesses a man, that blessing does not stop with him. It flows. It spreads. It multiplies. A man of favor leaves behind more than memories. He leaves behind transformation. This is why the Bible says, A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Proverbs 13 verse 22. This is not just about money. This is about wisdom, character, faith, strength, and vision. This is about building something that will outlive you. Because listen, true greatness is not measured by what you achieve for yourself, but by what you leave behind for others. The man of favor keeps growing. He never stagnates. When God's favor is on a man, he does not stay the same. He does not live year after year at the same level. He increases. He expands. His influence grows. His reach stretches farther than he ever imagined. Because favor is never stagnant. It is a force of movement. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and man. Luke 2 verse 52. Even Jesus, the Son of God, grew in favor. If he increased, what makes you think you should stay the same? A man of favor is always leveling up. He does not accept mediocrity. He does not settle. He does not stay comfortable. He pushes. He stretches. He keeps moving forward. And when he does, God responds. Doors open. Opportunities appear. Resources flow. Influence expands. Because a man who is faithful with what he has, God will always give him more. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Matthew 25 verse 23. This is the principle. If you handle what God has given you with excellence, he will multiply it. This is why some men remain small, because they refuse to grow. They refuse to develop their gifts. They refuse to push past their limits. They refuse to prepare for the next level. And because of that, they stay stuck. But a man favored by God, he never stops growing. And because he grows, his influence cannot be ignored. A man of favor does not just build for himself, he builds for others. A man truly favored by God is not selfish. He does not hoard his blessings. He understands that favor is not given just for personal success. It is given so that he can pour into others. This is why God told Abraham, I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. Genesis 12 verse 2. Did you hear that? The purpose of favor is to become a blessing. A man favored by God raises up others. He mentors. He teaches. He lifts people out of darkness. He creates opportunities. He builds systems that will continue to impact lives long after he is gone. Think about Joseph. He was not just blessed for himself. God positioned him in power so he could save an entire nation. Think about David. His victories did not just bring him glory. They set up a kingdom that lasted for generations. Think about Jesus. His favor was never about personal gain. It was about changing the course of history forever. A man favored by God understands this. It is not just about you. It is about what God can do through you. So ask yourself, are you building something that will last? Are you creating something that will stand the test of time? Are you investing in others? Are you passing on wisdom? Are you ensuring that your influence will remain long after you're gone? Or are you living just for yourself? Because listen, men who live only for themselves die forgotten. But a man who lives for God's purpose, his legacy is eternal. The man of favor is unstoppable because his work is anointed. Here is what you must understand. A man favored by God cannot be stopped. His enemies may try to shut him down. His critics may try to silence him. His obstacles may try to slow him down. But nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop the work that God has anointed. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54 verse 17. When a man is walking in his calling, when he is living in obedience, when he is aligned with God's purpose, he becomes untouchable. Yes, he may be attacked. Yes, he may be challenged. Yes, he may go through setbacks. But in the end, he always rises. Because favor is not a temporary condition, it is a divine force. And when God's favor is on your life, you do not just survive, you thrive. You do not just succeed, you dominate. You do not just live, you leave a mark that cannot be erased. Now is your time. Step into your legacy. So now the question is yours. What will you do with the favor that is on your life? Will you play small, stay hidden, live only for yourself? Or will you step into your true calling, to build something that will last, to create a legacy that will outlive you, to expand your influence beyond what you ever imagined? Because let me tell you something, if you decide to step up, if you decide to embrace the process, if you decide to be faithful with what God has given you, then mark my words, your influence will grow, your reach will expand, your impact will multiply, You will leave a legacy that generations will speak about. This is not just a possibility. This is a promise. Because a man favored by God does not fade into history. He shapes it. So rise up, build, expand, step into your calling. Because when you do, God will establish your name, and your legacy will stand the test of time. Listen carefully. A man favored by God does not live an ordinary life. He stands out. He moves with purpose. He carries a presence that commands respect, not because he seeks attention, but because his favor speaks louder than words. What have we learned? He does not crumble under pressure. He endures. Trials are not his downfall. They are his proving ground. Every challenge is a setup for elevation. He does not walk alone. He builds strong relationships. He surrounds himself with men who sharpen him, who hold him accountable, who push him to greater heights. He does not shrink back in fear. He takes responsibility. He embraces discipline, refuses mediocrity, and steps boldly into his calling. He does not chase temporary success. He builds a lasting legacy. His impact outlives him. His influence stretches beyond his own lifetime because he understands that favor is not just for him. It is meant to be multiplied. And now, the decision is yours. Will you rise? Will you embrace the process? Will you step into the favor that has already been placed upon you? Because make no mistake, this is your time. If you are still breathing, if you are hearing these words, God is not finished with you. Your greatest days are not behind you. Your impact is not yet complete. Everything you have faced has been preparing you for this moment. So do not wait. Step into it. Own it. Walk in it. And if you're ready, like, subscribe, and comment 99 below to activate this powerful energy in your life. Because once you commit, there is no turning back.